This is your math gal, Julie Harland. Please visit my website at yourmathgal.com, where all of my videos are organized by topic. All right, we're going to do this problem. If 450 degrees is less than x is less than 540 degrees, and the cosine of x equals negative 5/8, find the exact value of the tangent of x over 2. So we're going to have to use a formula for tangent of x over 2. There's 3 formulas. Actually, they're called identities, 3 identities. Okay, so here are 3 identities. And so it doesn't matter which one we want to use, but if we use the first one, we'll have to decide whether to use plus or minus. And we also only need to know the cosine of x. Okay? But if we use the other 2 identities, we don't have to worry about whether it's positive or negative, but we need to know the cosine of x and the sine of x. So let's start off by doing it using the first identity. So we know that x is in between 450 degrees and 540 degrees. So we need to know where x over 2 is in order to pick the plus or minus here. So let's see, if we've got 450 degrees is less than x is less than 540 degrees, then we could divide everything by 2 to find out where x over 2 is, approximately, at least the right quadrant, and that'll give us it's in between 225 degrees and 270 degrees, and so x over 2 is in quadrant 3. Quadrant 3. And the tangent is positive in quad 3. So we are going to use the positive in front of the square root symbol. So now we're ready to go because we actually are given, in this case, the cosine of x. So we get to plug in negative 5/8 for x. So we're going to use the positive, so I don't need to write anything, but if it was negative, you'd have to write a negative sign. 1 minus. Okay, the cosine of x is negative 5/8, so this is a negative 5/8 over 1 plus the cosine of x, which is a negative 5/8. And now you have this complex fraction. You could either simplify the numerator and denominator first, if you want, get a common denominator, or use any other method you want to simplify this fraction underneath the square root. So that's up to you. If you want, put the video on pause and see what you get when you simplify. Basically, that's 1 plus 5/8 over 1 minus 5/8, right? So if you just want to simplify each of those fractions separately, 1 plus 5/8, that's 1 and 5/8, right? And 1 and 5/8 over here is 8 times 1 plus 5. That's going to be 13/8. So those of you who like to do it that way, you would get 13/8 in the numerator. And then 1 minus 5/8, that's 8/8 minus 5/8, that's going to give you 3/8. So one way of simplifying it is to do this. And then you still have to multiply by the reciprocal, right? 13/8 divided by 3/8, so that would give you, still have this square root, 13/8 times 8/3. The 8's cancel, which is nice. But now I have a square root of 3 in the denominator. So those of you who simplified just the fraction, you should have gotten 13/3. Now you could have also done this by multiplying the whole numerator and denominator by the least common denominator of 8. And if you did that, just keep in mind what would happen. If you did it this way, you would have square root of what? Well, this gives you 1 times 8, which is 8. And this becomes a plus plus, right? So 8 times 5/8 gives you plus 5. And in the denominator, 8 times 1 is 8. And 8 times negative 5/8 is minus 5. So in other words, that's just arithmetic I'm doing right here. I still am going to get 13/3. So in other words, you're going to get 13/3 when you simplify the fraction underneath the square root. Doesn't matter which way you do it. Sorry about that. Likes to come out every so often. All right, so what do we have here? Not quite done, because this is the square root of 13 over the square root of 3. And now you have to rationalize the denominator by multiplying numerator and denominator by square root of 3. So I get in the numerator square root of 39 all over 3, and now you simplified it. Square root of 39 over 3. Let's go ahead and use one of the other formulas. Keep in mind that I got square root of 39 over 3. So let's compute this using a different formula. Keep in mind that when we did it the first way, we got square root of 39 over 3. So if we want to get the tangent of x over 2, it's just the sine of x over 1 plus cosine of x. This time we're going to need to compute the sine of x, right? So we know the cosine is negative 5/8, and x is between 450 degrees and 540 degrees. So what quadrant is that in? That's over in quadrant 2. It's a wraparound thing, but the terminal side is over here, and the cosine is negative 5/8. So it's something like this if you wanted to draw a picture. And you can figure out the sine using the Pythagorean identity, cos squared x plus sine squared x equals 1. That's another way to figure this out. Okay, but you need to find out the y value so you can figure out the sine of x. So I'm using the Pythagorean theorem. I'm trying to find that y value, which is going to be positive. Y squared plus negative 5 squared is negative 5 times negative 5, which is 25, equals 64, because that's 8 squared. So y squared is 39, and by the picture I know that y is going to be positive. So you could figure out that the sine of x is square root of 39 over 8 from that picture. Whoops, sorry. Okay, so if we want to use this formula, we need to find out what the sine of x is, and this isn't the only way to do it. Remember, this is an angle that goes all the way around and ends up somewhere over here, right? It's x is in between 450 and 540 degrees. So now we plug that in. All right, so for the sine of x, I got square root of 39 over 8. And in the denominator, I have 1 plus the cosine of x. That was given as negative 5/8. And again, you have a complex fraction, so you have options how you want to do this. If you want to just multiply both sides by the least common multiply both numerator and denominator by the least common denominator, you'll get in the numerator square root of 39, and in the denominator you'll have what? Do your distributive. 8 times 1 is 8, minus 8 times negative fifths is negative 5, so 8 minus 5. That gives you the square root of 39 over 3. So notice I got the same answer using that formula. Let's just do the last formula for fun. The other formula is 1 minus cosine of x over the sine of x. Since I've already computed the sine of x, to see how that would go down. Oops, sorry. So we have 1 minus, all right, now the cosine was given, right? That was the negative 5/8. And the sine we computed is square root of 39 over 8. So in the numerator, you could simplify first, or you can simplify this by multiplying the numerator and denominator by the least common denominator, which I'm going to do. Again, it's 8 over 8. So I would get what in the numerator? 8 plus 5. And in the denominator, square root of 39. So I'm going to get 13 over square root of 39, but I've got an irrational number in the denominator, so I need to multiply numerator and denominator by that, square root of 39. So what do I get? Almost there. So in the numerator, I have 13 times the square root of 39. In the denominator, square root of 39 times square root of 39 is 39. And now I can cancel that 13 and 39. And once again, I'm going to get that square root of 39 over 3. All right, so we did it 3 different ways because there are 3 different formulas for the tangent of x over 2. And so the answer to this is square root of 39 over 3 without knowing what the angle is at all. All we knew about the original angle is that it was in between 450 degrees and 540 degrees. And so what we computed was the tangent of half of that angle. This is your math gal, Julie Harland. Please visit my website at yourmathgal.com, where all of my videos are organized by topic.